Hi, welcome to Main and 5WH channel. Yet another very important session on big data. So we're going to cover two small topics today on relevance of big data to the industry and also some of the technologies which has been spoken about. So we're not going to go in deep dive into it. We'll cover it up in the hands-on and lab and OEM sessions. Now, big data is there everywhere. So if you really see all the companies today in industries or tech companies, so you could look at maybe you pick up a company like Hindustan Unilever, you pick up a company which is like a Whirlpool, you can pick up a company like a retail company like Walmart, even though they are in different type of business like consumer products or retail, but the core idea of their existence is because of technology. Now, one of the key component that technology is about the data, how they play with this data, how they can really take this large volume of data and then be able to really create a lot of meaningful information back to the end customers makes huge difference. Okay, so big data in the industry is a very important topic. So let's cover some of the industry where it is used. Okay, if you look at manufacturing, for example, manufacturer can use big data to get an edge on the competition. Okay, so what does that mean? You can achieve better productivity and efficiency in manufacturing. You can actually create unique demand patterns in the market so that the products are made as per the need, right? You can increase the supply chain efficiency. With the right data analysis, manufacturer can easily improve operations, can strengthen relationship with customers, suppliers, blah, 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 and you can increase the profit. So you can see a lot of companies which have used this makes huge difference. Like if you look at the GE company, they have a complete platform itself, which is basically a data platform, an AI platform called, which really helps to really gather a lot of information, do a lot of AI analytics on the top of it. Okay. The second, which is not much spoken about industry, is agriculture. Agriculturists can do a lot of interesting thing with big data. Just to give you an example, you can do key analytics for the industry, like where crops are processed, how much of each crop is processed, where processing or transportation facilities are located, the price of each crop, the cost of transporting the crop. All these can be really analyzed. Okay, a software and algorithm can refine the interpretation of the data in an agricultural space. By using the sensors within the agriculture, you can actually enhance the crop quality. You can really automate a lot of things also by using IoT and big data. That's agriculture. If you come to insurance industry, one of the most data-driven industry on the planet. Okay, now big data solutions can be used here also. Now, claims are assigned to insurance adjuster based on the limited data available. So you can actually use data mining technique depending on the priority and complexity of a claim. And you can actually adjust the really insurance value based on the profile of the things automatically. Okay. Even with the help of data analysis, the claim settlement can also be done in a better way. You can also analyze and the settlement done for a period of time, blah, blah, blah. So insurance company, we call it InsurTech, Industry 4.0 for manufacturing, FinTech. All these companies are today using this big data as one of the core way to reach the customer, increase the customer experience, improve the sales. That comes to me the last point. Big data can help in the sales company to identify valuable opportunities, generate repeat sales, increase conversion rates, predict future sales. You can also analyze the mood of the market, customer based on the seasons, and really be very useful for all of us. Okay, so that's the industry. Now if I can take an industry, you can really look at the value additions of plenty, but if a company has to be in the business for a long time, they have to leverage this data. I'll give you one more example of an airline. An airline industry, I know, like, is a very heavy capital based industry, but there can be a lot of interesting work you can do on, and a large volume of data getting dumped on every flight, and you can actually capture those data, do a lot more interesting work in terms of how you can actually predict and see what happens what kind of customers are flying, why did they switch over the airlines, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so everywhere you can see relevance of big data. Some of the technologies which I have personally used in big data for implementation, I'm just going to name few of them and give maybe brief two-liners for you to really further Google research. Hadoop. So without, you cannot talk about big data without mentioning Hadoop, right? It's actually a Apache distributed data processing software. Actually, Hadoop is almost synonymous with big data, right? It's an ability to process extremely large volume of data, both structured and unstructured format, right? And it can replicate chunks of data to nodes in the cluster, makes it available locally on the processing machine. Okay, so Hadoop is one of the, I call it de facto standard for things. So what the OEM did in the initial stages, like including Oracle, Microsoft, all of them had these kind of Hadoop containers. They did not replace Hadoop in the early stage because they thought this is one of the best breed way to actually process big data. So they did have a container of a Hadoop. Still they continue doing it within your framework of the OEM software. Okay. The second is MapReduce. If Hadoop is the big data mahout, then MapReduce is it's actually a lifeline. It's a programming model. It's a software framework for writing applications. So what MapReduce, as the name suggests, map and reduce. It works to rapidly process vast amount of data in parallel on large clusters of compute nodes. And then you can reduce it to whatever you need for the requirement. It was actually developed by Google in the early stage. You have something called a STORM, S-T-O-R-M. Is different from other tool. It's a distributed real-time fault-tolerant processing system, unlike the batch processing system of Hadoop. So with real-time computation capability, STORM is fast, highly scalable, often described as Hadoop of the real-time. And it works with most of the programming language. Typically Java is used. Okay. The another name which you would have heard very recently is Cassandra. This is a highly scalable NoSQL database. Can monitor massive data across multiple data centers and the cloud. Apache's Cassandra is used by many organizations with active data sets. So let me name some of them like Netflix, Twitter, Cisco. All these people use. It was actually developed by Facebook. It's now managed by Apache Foundation. You also heard about a word called HBase. Is a non-relational data store for Hadoop. Being a column-oriented database is well suited for sparse data sets and written in Java. Okay, that's another example of what you would have heard. And to name some of them more, okay, MongoDB is another thing which is originally developed by Tengen for supporting massive databases. It's a NoSQL database again, written in C++. Document-oriented storage, full index support. It can provide replication, high availability, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The other thing is a Neo4j, performance improvement up to 1000x in comparison with relational database. It stores data structure in graphs instead of tables. It's a disk-based, fully transactional Java engine. Okay, that's Neo4j for you. There is something called as a CouchDB, which stores data in JSON documents that can be accessed via the web or queries using JavaScript. This is another example where you can really look at. So these are some of the technologies which you would have heard, and big data is going to be the future. So watch out, like workloads are really increasing towards cloud, and you can find that there's a lot of involvement which will be there in big data. It might come in different flavor like data science, machine learning, deep learning, but fundamentally the conceptual things of big data will never change. Thanks for watching.